Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the new mythic Scorpius from Drifting Sands. It is in Glory Gem Guild and VIP chest for this week only, and then it'll be in the drop pool with all of the other mythics. So if you're interested in this troop, it is definitely the week to get it. So is it worth getting though? Probably not, but it is pretty fun to use on Brown Guild War Day, I would assume. We have been finding a couple teams that appears to work decently with it. Let's actually go and start right into that with one of them. So, Scorpius. What exactly does it do? It deals damage to the last two enemies, pretty minimal amount. The damage is lethal if they are poisoned. So if you can get a poison on them through any means, and then you cast this, it will instantly kill them. And it can only be used once, so similar to something like a Great Maul. Once you cast one of these, even if you have multiple on the team, you will not be able to cast it additional times. One thing to note though is two of him actually wouldn't be too bad, mainly because he is an impervious troop, and not only that, but the reason he's so good with Browns is all Brown allies gain 1 to all stats at the start of each turn. This is going to be really potent. Not only does this trigger from the very first turn, including when the game actually starts, but this will be able to boost all Browns on all stats, with the most important one, of course, being magic. So there are quite a few uses for the extra magic boost in order to be able to kill your enemies. One other noteworthy thing is when synergized with the Corvash, you can also take out the front with the Corvash and this guy with the back line. One thing to note though is he does have the highest mana cost in the entire game at 28, and there appears to be another mythic coming soon that's going to have an even higher mana cost than that. So they're really starting to dial those up. But let's start with this. We're starting with a Corvash, Ragnagord, forgot what my third slot was, and oh yeah, the Wyvern, and of course the Scorpius himself. One thing to note is as of currently, Wyvern is the only Brown in the game with the ability to poison. Coincidentally though, it has the ability to poison the last 2 slots. So that is extremely convenient given the fact that the exact slots we need, poisons, are the last 2 slots. So a little bit of a bad starting board, not really what I want to be seeing here. This will start a little bit more on the Corvash. As you can see, every single turn we gain 1 to every stat on every troop, since we are indeed using a pure Brown. Trying to find ourselves some mana. Don't really seem to be getting much though, or at least not of what I really need. Need to get that quick Ragnagord into just getting things rolling, but unfortunately the Ragnagord mana isn't really available, so we'll get ourselves a little bit more into that Wyvern. The explosion that we're going to do on our Rag, if we could ever get that Rag, will be enough to really get things going. Looks like we can finally take it off that red. Of course, when we finally do indeed get it, we do not get that Surge, which we desperately needed there. So yeah, not looking too good. Waiting till it takes a little bit more mana there so we can just Corvash it. That brown, red, what does the Sun just do? Yellow allies at 5 attack, deal 19 damage to all purple enemies, then summon a random storm. I'm perfectly fine with that. So we'll go take that, get our skull, get basically all the mana we really needed. Well, we didn't have any mana generation for the entire time, and then we just get full all at once. We can just Corvash that, he didn't even bother using the sundial. We can then go for the back line, get a kill up there, synergized with the Corvash, then go for the double kill on the back line. And that is pretty much match. Just gotta go and get a nice Ragnagord in there, get our mana generation up. One pretty nice thing about the stat line that we keep getting every single turn is that it's all feeding into our Corvash's capability to be able to get easier one-shots, not only off of skulls, but also, of course, off his ability, which is now going to be at 40/40 on our next turn when we're able to use it. And that alone is almost enough to one-shot some troops, so really nice right there. As you can see, we don't use purple anymore, though, because he ends up getting it blocked. I think even yellow we didn't end up using there. But yeah, you do end up losing some of your mana, of course, after you cast them. And on many teams, due to how you need to mana generate, it's going to be really hard to actually keep every cover colored after he ends up doing his cast, particularly since he's covering so many. Like here you can see, yeah, yellow, purple we don't end up using after we cast them. We're initially using every color, but after he casts, we're only using 4 instead of all 6 of them. But anyways, let's get into the next battle here. Which one should we go for? Let's see, Annoying Queen Mab. That might end up being... we'll just go... Let's not use the loop one yet. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Let's not use the loop one. Let's go for the guard version right here. So I'm going to be running a basically team oriented around specifically guard's avatar. I guess you could slightly do this with a Tesla too, but it probably wouldn't be as effective. Basically what we're going for here is we're going to be boosting up guard's avatar as much as possible. Actually, you know what else this could be used with? Tacet warrior. I was trying to think of a brown that also has like a boost ratio off of having armor. It would end up working for that. So the whole point here is to, actually the next two teams we're going to be doing are, but the whole premise is using the extra stats that it gains. Honestly, I feel like the biggest thing of this new troop isn't even his ability, it's the ability for him to passively keep boosting your brown-red troops. That alone is enough to make him viable. Honestly, I don't really find myself using his ability from what I've tested so far. I've been very, very rarely using his ability. The previous battle was a good example of how to use his ability that we just did. But more often than not, it doesn't really come into play. Like this entire battle right here, I'm pretty sure we're not even going to cast it. Well, for one, we don't have a poison, so this team isn't really made to be casting it. But even if you're using a team oriented towards casting it, it's not really always needed. So, right here, you might as well just skull him just so he doesn't Corvash us. We're not really getting the guard's avatar down, but we got the one, and that almost seems to be enough to really win this at this point. Simply because of how much additional damage we have. We didn't even really get honor going either, for the most part. We got a little bit in, but not as much as I would have wanted to get. So right here, I guess we just keep skull poking. If nothing else, we could just win off of skull pokes if we really had to. So we're gonna move that over, and he'll skull poke us back. If we take yellow to go on the guard, there's so much blue that there's really no point in trying to stop him from getting a blue extra turn, because almost anything he does there is indeed going to be a blue extra turn. So we end up losing a lot of value there. And I'm taking that. Though luckily we do have the apothecary to cleanse off this kind of stuff. Took her a little while to get up. Don't have an area other than red. Well, I guess it's worth doing it on red, because all the leak gets to go into the new troop. Though we don't really get to use much of that. I guess we just take a skull here. I could take the 4 times, but I don't really think that's gonna... You know what? Actually, I'm gonna go for it. So we'll just go take that, and then move that down. You know what? I actually probably shouldn't, because we would have had a surge chance on the brown, which would have gave us full. So we'll just take that poke, and now all we have to do is poke out the queen mab. So didn't really go as good as it could have, but we still end up getting the win. If nothing else, this is just a good example of how we don't really need to have the guard's avatar there. Because a good majority of that actually came just from the fact that he was boosting on our first slot all the extra stats. It's like an amnesia, except instead of just the HP and attack, you're also gaining armor and magic, of course. With magic being one of the most consequential aspects of it. So we'll go throw that damage. Oh wait, I should have waited 1 turn. I didn't realize it was that close to killing. Fail, 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 fail. But yeah, you can see that starts to rack up a lot of damage over time. You can really underestimate how much extra magic that can give you. 1 magic to all brown allies per turn alone is a really, really big boost on him. Not to mention he has impervious, so you can't even stun the fact that he does that every turn. Oh, why, Queen Mab, why? Okay, we're going to try this, but it's probably going to fail. It's going to be a Webspinner variant of this team, also using Ketris, though, again, not really needed. You can also replace it with Yasmin if you have her instead. You can also replace it simply just with another green or brown troop that's going to be able to either utilize the Scorpius benefit or utilize the greens that we're going to be getting from the Webspinner / Forest Troll. So right here, we're going to want to basically make sure he doesn't really get any extra turns. We're going to want to rush Scorpius as quickly as possible, would also be really nice, since we're going to be needing that to get rid of that Queen Mab. Skulls I can pretty much just ignore. I don't really care if he does or does not take them, because we will not be taking skulls much ourselves. Luckily we already had the poke, so he doesn't end up getting anything there. I really want to cast this, though there's a high chance it's going to miss. Okay, it does indeed miss. Luckily, out of everything he could have froze, that was probably the most pointless one. And since we just took blue, it's a very high chance that he will miss right now. He will end up hitting our Ketris stats, which is going to be a little bit unfortunate. But we'll let him do that. Very nice. Oh, come on. Now it's actually consequential, because there's a bunch of blue on the board. Oh, well, we'll go take that. Unfortunately, not for an extra turn. Luckily, that impervious doing work right there. And we're not frozen on green, so please don't miss this time. Good. So we do indeed get the team going. Not quite sure what the biggest threat even is at this point, though. He has a lot of things I kind of want to poke down. Ideally, from all these cascades, we will end up getting his mana filled. We don't end up getting the mana directly into him, unfortunately, but we do have him there. He is also giving us those extra stats, which is helping even if we don't end up getting him down. In this case, it looks like we're getting a little bit unlucky, and we might not actually end up getting him down, because we'll just throw a Ketris there and basically go for the team wipe. If that poison would have triggered, we would have gotten the match there. But yeah, of course, he's just doing the stats. More often than not, as I mentioned, he has such a high mana cost that you don't even use him many battles. It really comes down to how much of a benefit do you gain from getting +1 additional stats every turn on all of your brown allies. That alone is basically the entirety of the troop, which is why we will be trying him on Guild War days next week. So just to bring that team back again. Let's see how it does against the meta. I don't believe we used this the first time against it, so I do want to try it this time. It's Corvash, Ragnagord, Weavern, Scorpius. I've also been considering putting the Ragnagord in first slots, mainly because once we lose Corvash, and once we've already casted Scorpius and we've lost Corvash, we don't really have much left to the team, because a good majority of the team is coming from Corvash because of his ability to disable. And of course, after Scorpius gets the kill, the whole plan is Scorpius gets the last 2 kills, Corvash gets the first 2 kills, you win. And you do that before anything dies, ideally. That is the plan. Will it work? That's questionable. But the team wins. How viable it'll be for Brown Guild War days, we'll have to find out after we test it a couple times in Brown Guild War days after not giving him that much mana as a fail. Also, I did not end up getting the Red Surge. I have no clue why, but every time we're trying to show this right now, we are unable to get that much needed Red Surge. That's one of the most key things we need to get this team rolling immediately. And if we don't get that, that is a pretty huge disable, and it's quite unfortunate since we have such a ridiculously high chance, like a 60-something% chance, and we've missed it twice now. So very unlucky there, but we'll go get Corvash up. Nope, didn't get the red there. We're just trying for the random red drop. Red is so crucial to get early on. Now we get our nice Corvash down. Did we get to cleanse? Yes, we did. So we can actually go for that skull and get a stun. Though he stunned one of them that was already going to be stunned, so didn't really get much value out of that. But we can finally go for our explosion. Let's do it on red, get a nice spread. That does give us our poison, almost gives us our Scorpius to go and cast. You can go double green right here. It doesn't look like there's enough to really land it though, so we'll try for that. Didn't get our yellow drop, which would have been for full mana if we would have gotten it. We're frozen on brown right now, though I do still want to take this just so he doesn't get it. Try to first surge, didn't get it. He has double Kraken, which will indeed get his kill, and it does look like this time around it will indeed fail. So I think the moral of this story is don't use it against freeze. There we go. So let's try this one last time. See if we can find a Kraken variant without freeze. Or just anything in general that's harder. Let's see. Or similarly as hard. Oh, come on, another freeze. Do we try it again? Sure. If you can't win against freeze, it can't win against anything, because so many things are running Queen Mab right now. Okay. Can you finally get a red to surge? Or, never mind, we can just take 2 reds and then we have a guaranteed chance, even if it doesn't. Okay, of course, the time when we had a guaranteed chance, it surges. Of course, but oh well. Now this is what it's supposed to be doing. You got this now. Okay. Hopefully it would actually be consistent enough. Normally it does do it, I'm surprised. Of course, when we're trying to show it, it doesn't want to actually function, but we'll do that. Get our last 2 slots. Do keep in mind, there are a lot of troops in this game that have immune to poison, which is one of the other reasons why this troop's going to be somewhat bad. What's kind of nice, though, is most of the meta, as far as what gets used, except for quite a few people running Impervious last slot, other than that, to counter out Kraken, other than that, most of what really gets used does not have immune to poison. Like, the entirety of Kraken team doesn't have immune to poison, Far Strolls, things like that. Most of what really gets used, Queen Mab, Kraken, all those, Justice team in general with Valkyrie and all that, they don't have immune to poison at all anywhere within their team. So you'd be able to get quite a bit of the instant kills. Like I mentioned, the only thing that's oh, why didn't I Corvash there? But the only thing that really has it is anything that runs Impervious last slot. And of course, that's not really to counter this, that's just to counter everyone who's running Kraken right now. So as you can see, we have been gaining that extra damage too, and what's pretty nice is since this hits the first 2, we can synergize that with a Corvash and just kind of get the double poke there on the front line. Of course, it's 2 separate damages, unfortunately, but still, you're hitting the same target, so it's likely that they will die from all the extra stats you're getting. Also, keep in mind, his trait still triggers even after he is casted. It's impossible to get rid of the fact that he gains 1 to all stats on all brown troops, since he has impervious, and him casting only disables his ability itself from being recasted. It doesn't disable any of his traits, so do keep that in mind as well. But anyways, that is the new Scorpius troop. Is he worth getting? Yes and no. He's not the absolute best thing out there, that is for sure. I'm going to have a lot of fun with him on Brown Day. That's the main thing that I feel like he's going to be used for, is basically exclusively for Brown Day. One thing I do want to mention real quick, I showed it in the not the teams video, the key opening that we did, but I also wanted to just bring it to everyone's attention too. Famine is craftable right now, or at least on PC Mobile it is. But as far as like Brown Day mythics to have, Famine is generally one of the better ones, mainly because he can be used for Brown, Yellow, and Green Day, and has one of the best mana drains in the entire game, as well as one of the best single targets in the game, since he can drain all enemies' mana, gain 2x boost ratio off of that, and then just do a lot of single target damage. And if you really needed help with Brown Day, I would more advise getting a Famine than getting the new mythic that just came out, simply because Famine is just stronger. And the other guy is just Scorpius is way too situational. But anyways, guys, that'll wrap it up for this video. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave in the comment section below. We will be streaming today and tomorrow, of course, going over the new mythic, messing around with them, seeing exactly what we can do. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and have a wonderful day. Best of luck if you are trying to get the new mythic of Scorpius in the keys.